Scared to raise your camera on the streets? Well, you're not alone. Most street photographers struggle with this. I know I did. Hi, it's Peter here. There's no gimmicks, just progressive techniques that actually work. And stick around because I will have a very interesting tip at the end of this video. But let's start with the first one. Start with your safe zone. What does this mean? It means that go to a place that is familiar to you so that the place itself doesn't intimidate you or make you feel anxiety or anything like that. If you go to let's say a scary, a little dangerous place in your city or in the surroundings, you might feel a little anxiety and that will block your mind from making those photographs. If you are already a little bit scared to raise your camera, a rough neighborhood won't help on that. So go to a safe place where you feel safe. It can be anything, local area where you live during the day, a shopping mall or whatever feels comfortable so that you don't be intimidated or feel anxiety about the place. If you go to a safe place, then the only anxiety that you might feel comes from raising the camera, not the surroundings itself, so it doesn't build up. And that will help a lot. And you can start just walking around and looking around and just be a regular tourist or a local around the area. And then when you feel a little bit better and see something, start making images that you feel that are a good start. Maybe you have some kind of an idea that I will photograph thing X or whatever that thing is. It can be some simple things and start with that. And that might get you going and build your confidence. And then when you have more confidence, then you can go to a little rougher areas when you don't feel anxiety about raising the camera. And you might handle the anxiety of a rougher place if that is something that you aim for. If not, then it doesn't mean that as a street photographer you have to go to a rough neighborhood. No, it doesn't require that. But if you're into that, then this practice might help a lot. And while you're shooting there, the next tip will get you also going. That is to pretend photographing something else. Photograph something interesting, maybe a statue, and make the composition, play around with the camera, and then look with your other eye what's going on in the surroundings. And if you're using the LCD on your camera, it's easier to see what's happening around you. And this is why I don't use EVF. Or, of course, I can't use it, but because I have the Ricoh GR3X. But I don't really miss that EVF that much because I can see a lot more of what's happening around me from the corner of my eye, even though I'm looking at what I'm photographing. And that's a very good way of pretending that you're shooting something else. And if you are aiming towards a statue or some landmark or anything, and then usually when people walk across, they might say, I'm sorry I ruined your shot, and then you just don't worry, and then you might take another shot. So they never even understood that you actually wanted that shot. Aim towards something else, and then maybe you turn the camera quickly and take the shot. The next step from pretending to shoot something else is to pretend not to shoot at all. And that is practice the art of shooting from the hip. I know at the beginning, it's really, really hard to get that shot. You've got lots and lots of bad shots and bad photographs that are, maybe even misfocused and the composition is there. But with practice and knowing your lens and what the field of view is on your lens, you will get that. But at start, you might, go out with nothing. But don't get down because of that. I do a lot of shooting from the hip, and I use the 40mm equivalent lens on my Ricoh GR3X. But to be honest, a wider lens like a 28 or 35mm full-frame equivalent field of view could work better on this. So my suggestion is that if you have a wide-angle lens, start with that, and then maybe later you can go to a narrowed field of view so that you can get the shots that you want, unless you are more of a wide-angle photographer. I'm not. That's why I like the Ricoh GR3X, because it has the 40mm lens. Practicing this is also something, and just take a photo walk and photograph everything without looking to the viewfinder or the LCD and see what comes out. You might be surprised how you progress quite quickly when you start understanding the field of view of your camera that way. And then something else that also makes it easier to start is to not to go to a too wider area. Stick into a same area in the city and try to incorporate all these things in that area, and you get familiar with the area. And that's also something that I said in the first tip, is that go to a safe place. And this could be it, that it becomes a safe place when you're spending a lot of time in these few places, either during a photo walk or maybe several photo walks in the same area. If you find some good spots where you take photographs and you see that there are some, at a certain time of day, the light comes into a nice light pockets, or there is more people around a certain time, go back there and see if you can get better shots that you already did in the previous photo walk. Or then just, pick 3 spots on your photo walk and use those to get familiar with the place so that it becomes your safe zone. I tend to go back to the same places quite a bit in Helsinki, in downtown, because I know certain places where I can get shots, and I know that I pre-visualized a few images that I haven't really gotten yet, so that's why I go back to those places almost every time. And I know some places where the sun reflects from the windows or shines through the windows into let's say, for example, the railway station at this time of the year. It's perfect. There will be a time when someone approaches you and asks you, why are you photographing? Did you take a photo of me?
Mitä sä kuvailet?
Mitä?
Kuvaat miksi?
Huviksi, se on kiinnostavan näköinen.
Aha.
Toi kielto tuolla,
Niin.
ei sen kummempaa.
3 ulotta.
Joo, kyllä. Have a script in your head that what's your explanation? Why did you photograph? You can say that, no, sorry, I wasn't photographing you. I just look at the light, how nice it is. Then they probably look at the light. Try to be nice and polite towards people that are asking you, what are you photographing? But have a script. Have something in your mind why you took the photograph. Because probably if you made the photograph, you have an idea why you made the photograph. And tell the person. But of course, if it was about the person, you might not want to say that. You might say that, yeah, sorry about that, that I was just looking at the light and didn't notice you, for example, if you want to keep and not wanting them to see the photograph or ask them to delete it. But it also depends on the situation. But that is something that you could also practice a little bit. And when this happens several times, you get more confident with that too. So don't be intimidated. Most people are nice. And you can also have a portfolio with you, a small printed portfolio, 10 by 15 centimeter print. And I use this printer to print my little shots. And I do have a little portfolio with me and some photographs where I can show people that I'm, kind of like a professional street photographer, and they respect you and they understand in most cases. And that's a good way. And it's also a good way to show your work around. You never know who that is. It could be a gallerist or could be a collector. You never know. And okay, it's a random shot, but good things happens when you interact with people. So have a little portfolio, 10, 15, 20 images, your best ones that you are proud of. Have them in your camera bag, and maybe a business card type where they can go and look at your online portfolio, which is also something, if you have, then you're more credible. You're not just a random photographer, but you're something or someone who takes it seriously. And that will help quite a bit too. As I was telling in my earlier videos, actually in this one, about how we miss a lot of shots. 90% of our shots are garbage anyways. So embrace the mistakes because they are leading you towards better images. Either embrace the mistakes inside the image or embrace them so that you can be better. It depends on what your aesthetics is and what you are photographing. Don't lose your confidence because you might not get anything. Because sometimes during a photo walk, we don't get anything. And that's totally fine. Even the best photographers don't get hundreds and thousands of great shots during a photo walk. There might be just one. But if that is good enough and that could be a great image, then be happy and embrace the images that you get that you feel are keepers. That will build up your confidence, and forget about the the bad ones. And then the bonus tip that I promised at the beginning of this video. And that is what I call the busy hands camouflage. You might wonder what the heck is that. Have a camera in your hand and then have a cup of coffee on the other hand. And just walk like you're commuting somewhere. And while you're having the maybe coffee, you could snap a shot. They just don't realize that you're photographing while you're drinking coffee. That's one extra tip that you could do. And it actually works. Nobody pays attention to someone with a coffee cup. And here is the video about how to be invisible in the streets. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.